whenever you're first learning out to market, you just think like through the lens of you, and if that can help you in your first idea, maybe your second idea, but as you start adding hundreds of brands or projects that you're working on, you have to quickly realize that you are not the target market at all times, and you can't always think like you do. So take a step back. A lot of times when you're thinking about a project, if you're helping somebody else or doing your own, there's a big difference. Marketing number one. Marketing number two, keep it fresh and don't get stale.
Hi, welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Brian Mattocks. With me today is Andrew Morgans from Marknology. Welcome.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure. I really had a great time on our pre-call when we spoke last week or 2 weeks ago now. And you have a really interesting background, how you got started, and a little bit of history. If you could give us just the overview before we get into some of the marketing content, I think that would be helpful for our listeners.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of journeys it feels like in my life that could each be their own chapters. But long story short, I was born in Montreal. My parents were there studying French to be French missionaries, and at a young age, I think even before I was one, we were in Cameroon, French West Africa, and I grew up in different parts of Africa, with my teachers being French Christian missionaries, essentially teaching school with Christian curriculum. And I definitely think it affected me as an entrepreneur, and like just seeing things from a different perspective than a lot of people when it comes to problems and things like that. From Africa at the age of 16, I came back to the US, started going to school, and eventually went to university in Hawaii. Family emergency took me to Kansas City in 2007, and I finished up my computer science degree there in Park. Started doing networking and security, which was my degree at the time. Absolutely hated it. I felt like it was a job where people go to die, at least at that time. I think it's gotten a little cooler now. And I took a chance at a startup 13 years ago. We were putting car parts on online for the first time. I know it doesn't sound that long ago, but really it was. There weren't a lot of if you wanted a car part, you went down to O'Reilly or an AutoZone or something, and you told them your car, make and model. They'd say, "Here's your part, B0000, whatever." And I was making that accessible to people like me and you from home, and it was blowing up. So that first job grew sales by $1 million. I actually went to Florida for that job. So I came back to Kansas City and started working as an e-commerce manager at a toy company. Was there 2.5 years, grew sales by a couple million in each division, specifically on Amazon, and started freelancing at the same time. It got top 10 in the world on Upwork. I was the only one in marketing, in the marketing category, doing Amazon. So like there wasn't any international people, consultants doing it. I was American saying, "Hey, I'm doing this by daytime, like at moonlight, like let me help you out." And I just started getting clients. And before long, Marknology, my company, a mixture of marketing technology is kind of the fun word there. But Marknology was born. We're on our 11th year now. There's 35 of us on the team. We've worked with Fortune 50 brands all the way down to your mom and pop, like food brand. And ultimately, the last 10 years has just been kind of pioneering the marketplace, Amazon selling space, really helping brands, create their identity, at least create their identity as it comes to the Amazon platform, helping them understand profitability, international growth, compliance, brand protection, you name it. It's been a lot of fun. That's as fast as I can go, Brian. That was a short version.
It's interesting though, with the Amazon sort of build on that business. It sounds like, obviously you have the first to market sort of advantage with that, the first mover advantage. So when you got there, the scaling was built in because you were basically the only one. How is that translated now into the in-flight business that you have, what is it, 13 years later? How are you growing now? Is it you're still leveraging that advantage?
Well, it's a great assumption. Being a first mover has been great in some ways. There's no one that really, if you had started right when Amazon, started coming out and you could be a seller on Amazon and you did what I did till now, we'd be pretty close to the same experience. Like it'd be hard to be much earlier than me. There's people have been selling on Amazon longer than that, but not really on the services side and helping other people. Um, Honestly, I was almost too early. The industry just wasn't matured. I was having to spend a ton of time educating, convincing brands. I was a younger guy than I am now, and was trying to convince older business owners for the most part to change their strategy and their methodology. And it was really only the real brave, scrappy entrepreneurs that were looking to Amazon to grow a business, and the big brands or the D2C brands, the retail brands just weren't interested. So in some ways, I was winning and collecting. Getting if someone was looking for Amazon, I was winning by being an early mover. But honestly, the first 5 years of doing that, as a freelancer turned agency owner, trying to make it an agency, it was honestly really hard. And it was somewhere around, I would say, like 18, 19, that I feel like other people really started doing what I was doing. And honestly, them joining that for me helped educate, helped get more content on YouTube, helped get more blogs out, helped. I just wasn't the only one out there saying Amazon's an opportunity. Amazon, you should be doing it like this, you should be paying attention. And as more people started doing it, it honestly made it a little bit easier for me.
Hmm. So, how do you think that works? I mean, I'm just interested in the dynamic. You say it makes it easier. What help me out a little bit, understand that a little bit
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. So there's more voices out there in the business community saying this is the truth. This is what you should be doing. This is the future of business. This is e-commerce. Amazon is not going anywhere. Amazon can make you have a profitable business. You can tell your brand story on Amazon. Amazon isn't just going to cannibalize your website or cannibalize your retail store. Everything can grow together. Holistic e-commerce. Like instead of just me being like out there shouting, on a mountain, so to speak, it was like there's a choir of voices kind of out there in the business world talking about the opportunity that is Amazon. And then it just became, okay, I don't need to convince you about Amazon anymore. You guys know that Amazon's an opportunity. Now it just became the marketing message of like choose me and my team because we're the most experienced or because we're going to help get you there. And my messaging changed a little bit from just like you should pay attention to Amazon to you should pay attention to Amazon. Now, who are you going to work with? You're going to do it yourself or do you need some help to do it? So like my marketing message evolved a little bit as I went. Obviously the pandemic sped things up as everyone moved to e-commerce. There's these different things, definitely throughout the years that kind of like propelled businesses really considering Amazon and respecting what we did as a real service. It wasn't like, people go to school for website design, or Google ads. These things have been out for 20 years. But when it came to Amazon, there just wasn't a lot of understanding around it. And so at first I almost had to be an educator and not just a doer. It wasn't, I couldn't just get in and do the work. It really had to educate people on what the opportunity was. And so I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but more so just, I wasn't a pro at that time with my marketing message and with everything. And so as others joined me, I became a better marketer. At first I was really a technician.
Yeah, I gotcha. So tell me a little bit more about when you were having the market players that essentially started doing some of that pre-education for your clients for you. Did you find that the rest of the marketplace was kind of repeating the same messaging that you had, or did you end up having to like correct a bunch of folks coming to you with preconceived notions from other marketers that weren't right?
Well, that's a brilliant question, Brian. First mover was an advantage and it also was tough, right? Like same thing with having other people speaking to the Amazon space and the opportunity. They weren't all right. They weren't all correct. In the early days of Amazon, there was a lot of black hat. There was a lot of like not sure what terms of service is with Amazon. There wasn't a lot of thought leaders there. There's a lot of people doing a lot of bad stuff, really. And I learned all of that too. I just gravitate toward, like, I went to school to be an anti-hacker, to take, to protect networks and protect systems. And so I just kind of gravitated toward that as well in the Amazon space. The people early interested in Amazon were wanting to do those things. So I was having to push back on a lot of them. a lot of the early thought leaders were like these Amazon gurus or coaches selling courses, not really selling an agency. And so people would hear, their success, hear their course, want to try some of these things like falsifying reviews, giveaways, just different things that didn't make sense in the long run. If you understand systems and data,
Mm.
catalog and things like that's a matter of time until Amazon, takes those things down. And so I've always been more of a brand builder than like a get rich quick kind of person as well. So it was a mixture of that. It definitely, it also helped me really. I mean, I got, like they say about with a lot of entrepreneurs, I probably got 1,000 no's, right? So I also got very strong in understanding from within that toy company I was a part of as an e-commerce manager. I really learned firsthand what a lot of the resistance was and a lot of the no's and a lot of the pushback, because it was not just a private label seller. It was like a real brand. And that was early in the Amazon space for me to have a brand and really work through all those challenges with them. Um, then from there, 1,000 more no's. I really started understanding, like I started crafting my marketing message for those conversations, understanding what business owners, brand owners, sellers were, what their reservations were. And some of it was the accounting and the bookkeeper. They're scared of their bookkeeper, and 2 week payouts on Amazon was nothing like their website or, their phone orders had ever done. They didn't want to understand that. They didn't know how to do that. There wasn't software to do all those things. They didn't have all the answers. So, as the industry evolved, I would also say that my knowledge around the no's and the problems and the issues got really strong because I had to push back a lot.
Yeah, and I think I guess what I want to understand a little bit more about when it comes to not the pushback per se, but there's some realities, right? The place that you deliver services isn't a place that you can meaningfully advertise in, right?
Correct.
So now you have to take all of that sort of domain knowledge, move it to a place where people are shopping, and still be able to translate that message. When you decided to go to market with that outside of the Upwork space, how did you make that jump? Because that sounds like a pretty significant sort of step.
So a lot of it was in the early days was, it was me and a couple, me and one or me and two. A lot of it was word of mouth referrals. Okay. I like that was a huge part of my business for a long time. Just referrals from other sellers, other brands doing it, then as like some software providers and SaaS companies, started coming out to make selling on Amazon easier. It wasn't built for agencies. None of that software is built for agencies. It's built for the one, the solo
Right.
entrepreneur. Um, so trying to create relationships with them, I was, writing blogs for those companies. I was around 2018, 2019, which is about half of that journey, 6 years ago or so. I pushed myself to start speaking. That's a whole story in and of itself. I used to definitely get like stage fright and kind of have a speech, like a stutter if I got in front of people. Coming from a missionary, it seems like I would have that down, but I didn't. And but I just started speaking at my local university, Global Entrepreneur Week here in Kansas City, just getting little opportunities to speak. And I'd get a client here, get a client here. It was a way to market myself outside of just online, right? And then it also gave me content and material to post online from those speaking
Right.
events. And so, what started as like some free stuff around the city is now I just spoke in Prague a few weeks ago, which has been a long goal of mine to get to Europe and be able to speak there. So it's been a great way to grow and market my business, and it's changed. It's pushed me to do podcasting and things like that, as well as learning B2B marketing or a B2B message is different than being amazing at Google PPC or Amazon ads or whatever it is. So yeah, it's been iterations of websites. It's been tons of partner networking. Something about the Amazon space or the e-commerce space, I like to think, let's niche it all the way down to the marketplace space. I think in general, it has a very collaborative energy. Okay, it has a very collaborative type of energy among colleagues. Like I have a lot of other agency owners that do exactly what I do, that I'm friends with, that I talk to, that I share what I'm doing with. Sometimes that's because they're a little bit younger than me in regards to years of doing agency stuff. Sometimes it's
Mm.
because we're more like straight, arm outreach, side by side type of stuff. But I'm a full service agency, meaning we do everything on Amazon, from like the advertising to writing the SEO to content creation to understanding supply chain and inventory forecasting to like compliance to brand protection, like the whole kit and caboodle. I partner with a lot of agencies that do one part of that. And so whenever they get clients and they're looking for a larger agency or a partner to do some of the other work or things like that, I've just spent a lot of time creating great relationships there. I feel like that's what I brought to the table outside of being kind of just a geek around this stuff, was relationship building. Growing up that way, growing up the way I grew up, is like relationships are everything. It's kind of what I was taught. And I just leaned on that. I knew zero entrepreneurs when I started this journey. I knew zero business people when I started this journey. So I don't come from that type of network or like leaning on those relationships. I just mean like getting out in the community, a Global Entrepreneur Week or UMKC, to find some talented people to join the team, or creating friends in the industry, and really just like, trying to lead with value, help them where I can. And it's came back. And, it's been I did one presentation at UMKC. I think I had 31 different ways I landed a client at that time with that presentation. So just hustling.
Cool. So when you look at your current revenue sort of mix, what percentage of that's referrals, that relationship work you've been doing, versus new clients off of, the traditional marketing stuff you're doing? How does that all sort of break down in the business?
I think it would be probably like a 40-40-20, type of mix. I think 40% probably from referrals. You've been doing some 13 years in an industry that's like 10, 11 years old. It's like, it's small. It's a small community in a lot of ways. And so just being well known in the space. So I'd say about 40% come from referrals or agency, like referral relationships or things like that.
Mhm.
Probably 40% from um, uh, speaking events and podcasts and webinars. And like, to me, I would consider it like content, whether it's in person or on a podcast like this. I don't think it's the same as blogging. Like, to me, whenever there's like conversation, so I just think of it a little bit differently. A lot of live speaking, live events all around the world. And then maybe like 20% from, finding us from our web efforts, Google blogging, found you on an article, found you on YouTube. I got found on Chat GPT the other day. That made my day. Was in a list, someone was looking up for a list of agencies or to help with this or that. So, I think that's sort of the mix. Um, Referrals, actual content, speaking events, being out there in the ether, so to speak, and then probably 20% from the work we do on blogs and whatever. I don't do a ton of advertising. Honestly, some of that is just because filtering out. Like, I feel like I've spent 10 years building this pipeline to really get the brands and business and customers that are the best fit for us. And outbound, not that I wouldn't love to be the master at all things outbound. And I'm always working there and dabbling and trying different things, but it's a very small part of what we do at this
Mm.
time.
No, that's interesting. Andrew, it's been absolutely sort of mesmerizing to hear your journey so far. Who should reach out to you, and how should they get a hold of you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, so a lot of people have like I'm working with $1 million brands, 7-figure brands, or they have these like stipulations for what that is. For me, because of the nature of who we work with, I try not to put those limitations on anybody. So it's not about size or revenue size in general. It's more so, if you have a quality brand, has a story to tell, definitely our strength is content and storytelling, and really like, making your brand appear amazing across all platforms. So web, Amazon, Walmart, you name it. But sometimes we're working with manufacturers that are trying to go direct and sell direct for the first time. And so they have no sales history. They're actually been a manufacturer, and they're trying to figure that out. Brands that are doing well in D2C or well in retail, that just want to understand the marketplaces and get on Amazon, get on Walmart and do it right. That's a good fit for us. Brands that are, maybe a couple 100,000, a year, 3, 4, 500,000 on Amazon and looking for a team to help them scale, it's also a good fit for us. Maybe they're not in other places. So it's not just like a one size shoe fits all. It's really just like, do those things work for you? I think we're one of the most experienced teams on the planet, between me and my team. I think we're at 80,000 hours between my leadership team on Amazon. So if it's compliance, if it's transitioning from retail or wholesale to 3P on Amazon, what we call 1P to 3P, different types of selling modules, like, you've got compliance issues, or you've got different things like that, we're a good fit. So I know that's a hard answer, but really, if you're just looking to understand more, trying to supplement your team. Some people think, well, I already got a guy, or I got a girl, or I got 2 people on my team helping me with Amazon. That's way too much work for any 1 or 2 people if you're trying to do it right. You've got, advertising and analytics and reporting and profitability and all these things to think about. So we bolt on great next to teams. We partner with companies, with brands. And it's like they're adding a small, marketplace department to their team. So that solo entrepreneur that's ready to be a part of a team, great fit. That smaller team that needs to scale out or needs to bolster, like, to help them grow and handle the workload, we're a good fit. And honestly, I'll have a conversation with anybody. And if we're not a good fit, I'll find somebody for you.
That's awesome. So in your marketing journey so far, what are the 3 biggest things you picked up along the way?
My marketing journey so far, what I think is not what everyone thinks. Okay, I'll say that. And I think whenever you're first learning out to market, you just think like through the lens of you, and if that can help you in your first idea, maybe your second idea, but as you start adding hundreds of brands or projects that you're working on, you have to quickly realize that you are not the target market at all times, and you can't always think like you do. So take a step back. A lot of times when you're thinking about a project, if you're helping somebody else or doing your own, there's a big difference. Marketing number 1. Marketing number 2, keep it fresh and don't get stale. I think that's something that, even if I was like, hey, this is how I'm marketing Marketology yes, last year, it might not be the way I need to market Marketology this year. Changing out content, changing out your style, your look, your feel, stay current, stay relevant, try new things, would be number 2. And then number 3, let's see, 3 things I've learned so far. There's a million ways to market. And it's not one size fits all. It could be Facebook, it could be Google, it could be in person, it could be handheld stuff, books, you name it. There's a million ways to market. Try to pick 1 or 2. Try to pick 1 or 2, and go all in until you just feel absolutely confident about it. And I think you'll start to realize, after 1 or 2 really, really well, like let's say direct mail or email or Amazon ads, whatever those marketing channels are when it comes to digital, you'll understand the others a little bit easier on the next one. But you need to get really deep with 1 and really become a pro at it to really understand, 1, what you don't know in the other ones. And then 2, like as you move, if you're doing Amazon ads and you get into Google ads, you're going to be like, wow, there's a lot of similarities here. There's a lot of different things here. So it's just understanding that there's a million ways to sell through marketing, and you can't know all of them. So pick 1 and really dive in. The second one would be, uh, yeah, you're with me, Brian. But there's a lot I've learned about marketing
Yeah.
in general. And what I will say is, like, that's just a piece of it. That's just a piece of it, guys. Like, there's so much more to running a business, growing a team, scaling systems, scaling processing. The marketing is one part of that. And what I thought I knew yesterday, I don't know today. We've had pandemics happen. We've had inflation happen. We've had new presidents. We've had all different types of stuff happening that just changes the temperature of your customers. It changes the temperature of your buying platform, and you have to be able to adjust and just try new things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate your time.